Hello and welcome to the Tau Chain update for November. You're here with me, Fola, and without further ado, let's get into your Q&A questions. And this first question is from Melts, and they ask, is there a wallet developed yet? Will we record formal statements in our wallet during testnet? And how will the testnet be like? Will it be made for casuals or more for people with technical expertise? Thank you.
Testnet will be a fork of the quantum blockchain, so it will come with a wallet that is already there. And when I say fork, I don't mean fork of the blockchain, I mean fork of the code. It will be a completely new blockchain, completely disconnected from the quantum blockchain. The testnet that we want to release will be very minimal. We aim for the minimum in order to release it fast, so we aim from the very minimum. But this minimum has to include the Tau abilities, which means that using the Tau language, people will be able to agree together what it means to be a valid block. So it's the block acceptance condition. So because it will be first release, and we aim for the minimum, I don't expect it to be very easy to use. So people will need to write some things in the Tau language in their so-called wallet in order to express their opinion of what should be the which properties the block acceptance conditions should satisfy, and then the condition will become the condition to accept the next block. The consensus, the part that the people agree on, will become the condition to accept the next block.
No, more to it. Of course, you don't need to be like a technical specialist to use the wallet, because if you want to affect this, what Ohad said, block acceptance condition, you of course at first would need to learn Tau and how to write your opinions, but you will be able to use a wallet like any other crypto wallet, no problem. Only if you want to get more, you will need to learn Tau.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Ohad and Andre. And the next question is from Crypto Weirdo. And they say, Bitcoin was designed to be immutable. The function of it cannot be changed by vested interests. It gave humanity a shared value system. It's difficult to see its software changing drastically except for bug performance fixes. The community wouldn't allow it. A currency should be stable. On the other hand, Agoras is designed to be mutable and seems like it can be changed by vested and centralized interests. Changes would affect those who didn't sign up for it. It is like the opposite of Bitcoin. So what are people actually getting into if they acquire Agoras? How is it better or on the same league as Bitcoin?
Well, for one thing, some parts of Bitcoin are mutable and some are immutable. But to touch maybe the core of the question, indeed you need not only to change the laws, but you also need laws of changing the laws, yes? So in particular, you will be able to say that certain things can never be changed. For the part that changes that affect those who didn't sign up for it, so indeed, who gets to decide? So the way we release the blockchain, it will be only things that everyone with no exception agree on. Now, of course, that's too much. But to replace this law with what? Well, this will leave up to the community.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Ohad. And the next question is from Mr. Plumbus himself. And they say, hi, what is the updated and currently relevant timeframe for public testnet and subsequently a reasonable time frame for the release of the mainnet? Thank you.
The part of the team that works on the Tau language and the testnet is mainly David and Andre, and they estimated that Q1 is a reasonable date, but that's only an estimation. I will not be surprised if some parts will be more difficult than expected. It's not an absolute deadline, but it is the feeling of the team.
Fantastic. And this next question comes from Park Sue. And they ask, can Tau practically scale up to millions of users? or does it need lots of expensive GPUs for its compute? Does the past vision of computational resources of compounding the power of homeowner GPUs around the world still become relevant today for Tau?
Well, GPU specifically is not very relevant, more CPU. It might be that in the future we will find algorithms that can employ GPU, but that's not sure due to the nature of logical reasoning. But to the question about computational resources in general, whether they would be enough, well, for certain things, for sure, yes. For certain things, for sure, no. Where exactly the limit is, I feel that the limit is reasonable enough, but we will really not know until we see.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Ohad. The next question is from Grok's Alter Ego. And I think they've got a multi-parter here, so let's get into it. The first question is, which substantial and fundamental hurdles do you still need to overcome or resolve prior to the release of mainnet? That being theoretical, technical, business-wise, marketing, and collaboration, for example.
All the hard parts were resolved. What is left is only coding. And we are almost at the end of this coding, so it is imminent.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Ohad. And the next question from Grok's Alter Ego is, which future hurdles and difficulties do you think will still need to be overcome even after said mainnet release?
Yes, apparently same answer.
All right. And the last question from Grok's Alter Ego is, will it be reasonable to expect more and additional trading outlets and exchanges to list Agoras close to and after mainnet release? The answer to that is absolutely. One, it's easier to get on exchanges the more developed the project is. They do look at that as part of their listing criteria. So absolutely we'll have access to more exchanges and much more tier one exchanges, for example. And yes, we are still on our exchange timeline. We will be adding more exchanges in the coming months, at least one. Please look out for that as well. Cheers. And the next question is from Archer. Again, they have a multi-parter. Let's get into it. The first question is, we have been told there will be a new site with new and better materials and visuals to showcase this project. When will you release it? All right, so by the time you see this video, your question should have been answered. The next question is, you mentioned in the past an article to be released about Tau. I think Bitcoin.com was mentioned. When will this be published? All right, that question is actually a question for Killian. The article has been written and drafted. We just need to send it to Bitcoin.com's editors. Again, that's something that is slated for the Tau website release, which should be available by the time you see this video. So probably by around the time you see this video launched, you'll probably also see the Bitcoin.com article as well. Cheers. And this next one is from Thomas, and they ask, how does TauNet plan to integrate with existing software ecosystems and technologies? Given its unique approach to software development through software sentences, what strategies are in place to ensure compatibility and seamless interaction with traditional software systems and databases?
The general answer is to have a way in the in the meta language to get inputs and outputs from any source, including some software source. But more details of how integration will really look like, this is left to be seen.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Ohad. And this next question is from our beloved Sir Andrew. And he says, good day, Ohad. Could I say that in Tau, the more one connects and articulates one's ideas and opinions with as many people over the network and becoming more heavily connected on different users and in different topics, the more one becomes more valuable over the network. As a result, that one will be able to make the best use of Tau itself. Participation is key. Do you agree?
Well, whether there is an incentive for someone to share knowledge, well, of course, the community can give incentive to people, but let's say just ask for itself, I don't know. I guess they can see, maybe they can prove other people wrong, yes, which is the greatest pleasure in life. And they can see where people agree with them or disagree with them, things like this. I guess that's something to think about.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Ohad. And his next question is from Marco, and he asks, what are the greatest practical benefits to the Tau network from the newly published arbitrary claim verification system? I want to understand how the two are related.
So yeah, so the attestation and verification system patents are very useful, not just for Tau, but potentially for a lot of projects and a lot of social networks on the internet. Basically, it allows. I mean, even Twitter, for example, could possibly use such a system. So the idea is that users are verified. They're verified to be unique for example, voting systems, and but it does so in a way that preserves the end user's privacy. So that's very important. So it's definitely useful for Tau, but it's also useful for any social network. Plus, on top of that, on top of the uniqueness verification, you can verify any attributes that the user wants to be verified. For example, you can show that you can verify that you're a doctor, but again, without necessarily giving away too much information or uniquely identifying yourself. But the verification system essentially guarantees or certifies that you're a doctor, you're a person, and you're a doctor, and you're unique, and people will listen to your input and to your advice given your verifications and certifications. So that's the idea behind these patents.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Karim. This next question is from Marco again. And they ask, why does Ohad want to patent the verification system instead of just publishing it?
Yeah, generally speaking, I mean, if you read the details of the patents themselves, it does require some centralization for the verification process. It doesn't affect anything like Tau itself. But so for that reason, it's important that we have some control over the process. That's why we needed to submit a patent for it.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Karim. And the next question is from DN, and they ask, dear team, first of all, congratulations on the new patent. Thank you. As far as I understood, certifying agencies and/or a central authority will be needed. My question is, how will those collectives form? Will they be independent or part of the Tau core team and users? Best.
Yeah, the main certifying entity will be centralized, like I mentioned earlier, so we would have to set that up. However, the additional certifying entities anybody can start one in their own region, and perform certifications on for people. So I guess it's a mixture of both.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Karim. And the next question again is from Marco, and they ask, what minimal set of primitives do we need to have in the beginning for Tau to understand what we mean? For sure, we can't expect you to understand draw a circle in the beginning, but something more simple from which we can gradually construct more complex instructions. So what will the most basic building blocks be?
Well, that's a little, I mean, no, not a little, that's very complex to explain. And we will need to publish documentation and make it easier and easier with time. But part of those primitives, basically the primitives of ordinary computer, which is bit manipulation, zeros and ones, and just playing with bits. So in particular, theoretically, everything can be done on the Tau language, although yes, it's not exactly theoretically and it's not exactly practically. There is some nuances here, but yes, basic bit manipulation is of course possible. And more than that, it is basically living in the world of Boolean algebras, and maybe I can say a general advice to the people of advanced interest in Tau that getting familiar with Boolean algebras, the books by Halmos or Givant or Rudianu, all books about Boolean algebras and Boolean functions, general Boolean algebras, not the 0-1 algebra that sometimes is taught in school or in electronic design. They can be helpful.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Ohad. And the next question is from Sir Andrew. He's got a two-parter. What are the conditions for a language to be adapted by the Tau language? Does the language have to be decidable, have propositional clause, and support for basic logical operations?
So it has to support the basic logical operations, which is and, or, and not. It doesn't have to be decidable, but if you want the resulting extended language to be decidable, then of course the language you start with has to be decidable. There is another practically minor condition, which is whether the sentences of the language make an atomless Boolean algebra or not. Basically, every language with infinite vocabulary makes an atomless Boolean algebra, so that's not really a problem, which is then atomless is the easy case. If it is not the case, then you will need also something that is called decidable model counting. And even then the restriction, the usage, the extension of this language using the Tau language will include certain parts, but not the temporal part. Yeah, so in practice, any reasonable language can be extended with the Tau extensions. And yes, it will be decidable if the original language is decidable.
All right. And his second question is, what language extensions can the Tau language add to support the adapted language? Would the language extensions add the adapted language the ability to speak about its own sentences and handle ordering in the time of sentences?
Yes, that's very correct.
All right. And the next question is from Dosky. And they ask, what's the difference between Tau, T-A-O, and Tau, us? Why did both projects choose this specific name?
Okay, so the difference between BitTensor and Tau and Agoras, TauNet and Agoras, is basically, yeah, well, you can look at it as both try to achieve decentralized AI, but BitTensor really is machine learning based, and on BitTensor you have different subnets, I think up to 32 subnets that can currently be launched on BitTensor, each subnet representing a certain machine learning algorithm. So for example, there is text prompting or image generation. And ultimately, I think the ultimate goal is to combine all these subnets together to create some sort of decentralized AI that is more generalistic. But as I said before, it's machine learning based, and our project TauNet and Agoras, it's also it's touching base on decentralized AI, but it's based on formal specification. So where machine learning is more of a probabilistic approach, where you can never really be guaranteed to have accurate results. Our project uses formal specification to ensure complete accuracy according to the description that you provide. So whatever, we also employ the software as sentences paradigm. So whatever you write, whatever you want as software, or whatever you want TauNet to be like, you can just provide your opinions, ideas, and knowledge, and all your input serves already in itself as executable formal specifications, which TauNet is able to accurately process, and not only yours, but that of all users combined. And then TauNet is able to, or will be able to, update itself in alignment based on the collective consensus of its entire user base, and that in an accurate and provably correct way. And it's therefore quite different. I mean, ultimately you can then create a network like BitTensor on TauNet, whereas the other way around doesn't work. Like you cannot build, like you cannot do logic with machine learning. So yeah, that's pretty much the difference. So also TauNet, or touching base on what I just said, it's really about decentralized governance. I think on BitTensor you have, I'm not sure how many validators, maybe 27, I think. I'm not sure, maybe 100. But anyway, you have like a rather small group of validators validating the which machine learning model is the best one, and based on that, rewards are being distributed, I think. So it's a relatively small circle of people. Obviously, it's decentralization to some degree. But on TauNet, we really aim for complete decentralization. We want to involve the entire user base, and the entire user base practically becomes the core development of TauNet, of the blockchain.
All right. And the last question for the month is from Dominic, and they ask, are you familiar with Kaspa, a cryptocurrency that employs a novel novel blockDAG structure for faster transactions. How do you think such a technology could complement Tao's self-amending logical network? And what synergies do you see possible if the two technologies were to work in tandem?
So with regard to Kaspa, I'm not sure how exactly to pronounce it. I briefly looked into it, but yeah, I mean, basically, I think the approach is to use the directed acrylic graph to scale transactions. And if that's, if ultimately time shows that this is a better approach than using a blockchain, then this is something TauNet can relatively easy adopt compared to other blockchains, because on TauNet, as I said before, everything is based on formal specification, and its entire user base collectively decides what TauNet should be like from block to block. So if the user base of TauNet decides, hey, let's switch our blockchain base with like a more elaborated, more efficient technology, then this is definitely something that could be done. So that's really also the magic of Tau, that its users can simply decide what the network should be like. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. That wraps it up for the Q&A questions in HD from the Tau team, and we'll see you on Telegram.